Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Mavericks Presents Group Therapy. I'm Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. Those of you who have been paying attention know that we have had to move our podcast off of being supported by SB Nation. We will be joining another network very soon. In the meantime, I am doing this without getting paid, which means I'm doing this for the love of how much I like this Dallas Mavericks team. The Dallas Mavericks just fell to the tanking Charlotte Hornets 117-109. We were put out of our misery by Dennis Smith Jr., who looks fantastic. Congrats to Dennis Smith. The Hornets were posting a B team of players, and they just really made it uncomfortable. Old heads, meaning people probably like 35 or older, may remember a ABC miniseries based on Stephen King's seminal work, The Stand. There's a scene in that movie where a woman, can't remember the character's name, but the character is mute. She's not talking for a significant amount of the show. And then finally she pipes up to say something with some main characters involved. And she says, "We are dead, and this is hell." And that is how I feel about this Dallas Mavericks season to date. So here's what we're going to do, guys. I want you to come up on stage and talk to me about how you're feeling. I want you to let loose and really let this team have it if you think they deserve it. I'm kind of dead at the moment. I don't feel anything. First, we're going to bring up my man Micah, who was unable to join, probably due to technical difficulties the other night. But Micah, what is going on?
Hey, Kirk, can you hear me?
I can. Welcome, buddy.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's cooked. Or as Jason Kidd said, dog shit. They're so bad, Kirk. Like I don't know what else to say. It's just like you look at this roster and you're like, man, there's maybe 3 dudes on this roster that would start for any contending team. If that maybe.
I think you're being generous.
No, it's seriously. And then with Christian Wood, I remember there's an anonymous executive one time was talking about Andre Drummond, and what he said about Andre Drummond was he could give you 20 and 20 and have 0 impact on winning a basketball game. That's he would. Like at the end of the day, we just kind of like they're soft. The tape is out and these guys are just soft. They're just getting punked and pushed around like some little kids. They're just getting bullied. So, and it's happening from the bottom feeders are doing it too. Like, we're still having to fight for our lives to beat the Spurs and watch shit, you know? Like I don't know when, but no,
That sound
court.
we just heard, guys. That sound we just heard was the Maverick season, the door being shut on it.
Absolutely. But no, Mark Cuban, he definitely wants to go complain about one missed call in a basketball game instead of addressing the fact that, hey, dude, your team just gave up 66 fucking points in the paint to a jump shooting team. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
The dudes that have been struggling the whole season come into your house and punk you. Like, when are y'all gonna have shame? When are you gonna say, like, you know what? Maybe I should address that position that I put off for the past decade. And if I can't get a coach to act like that position is important, I might need a new coach.
I mean, the coaching stuff is difficult for me because our site called for Kidd to be let go after that Lakers game, and the vibes haven't been right with the team since. But I also don't know what else Kidd could do. I mean, he's clearly, like, they clearly don't care what he has to say anymore. So that's, like, a big problem. But they also, like, they can't play.
This is the one thing I want to touch on. No, they can't. That's the thing. It's just like I kept on bitching about his 4-guard lineups, and you see these guys on the court, and you're like, oh, shit. That's why you put 3 bigs in there, and you're still getting your ass kicked on the glass. You're still getting bullied all over the front court. Like, there is no fear whatsoever. They are looking at y'all like pretty much like supposing they're just going to hoe you out. And that's what we're going to see.
Yep.
Until we stop giving these new contracts, this is what we're looking at. We are looking at Portland. That's where a franchise be, because they never wanted to admit that freaking Nurkic's food, they're wasting people's careers.
Yep. No, I agree with that. Because it's having real discussions about where your team is. And the Mavericks really made it far last year. I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding of why they got so far last year. They got so far not because they were playing Luka ball, though that was a part of it, but they got that far because they kept winning the math on shooting variance. And they were just okay enough on defense for it to matter, and they did just enough. The problem is when all of their big men take a step back, because Maxi's worse, Dwight is worse, Christian Wood is a different kind of player, but he's not been particularly helpful when it matters, despite some of the stat lines he puts up. And then all their defenders are cooked. They have to shoot not 40% from 3 to win games. They have to shoot 50% from 3 to win games. And it's like, that's unsist. You cannot do that.
No, it's not. Especially, like, I look at this one team in the East, and I'm like, and there's a lot of teams that are built this way. And like Draymond said about Memphis, they're going to get, but this applies to everybody that thinks they're a contender. They're going to get a rude awakening, because there's this one team in the East that can shoot 30% from 3 and still destroy you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to those guys up front.
Well, Micah, thank you for kicking us off. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Kirk.
All right. Okay, guys, a couple of you wanted me to read this Luka quote from the post game. He says here, "It's really frustrating. I think you can see it with me on the court. Sometimes I don't feel it's me. I'm just being out there, you know. I used to really have fun smiling on the court. But it's just been so frustrating for a lot of reasons, not just basketball." I want to say in the immediate that reading into it's not just basketball is incredibly dangerous, and I refuse to do it. A 24-year-old man, do you guys remember being 24? That's what I'll say. Life comes at you fast. When I was 24, I fell down a metro escalator in Washington, D.C. and had a bar print scab across my back. That was how hard I fell and how hard I slid. I was drunk off my ass. Basically, I feel for Luka because he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. I think he can carry it, but I also think he's been asked to carry it for a little too long. And, they went through that 7-game win streak in December. They entered the new year, and I'm pretty sure in the new year they are under, so just January 1st forward. They're at this point, I believe they're 8 games under 500 in the new year. He's been asked to do a lot, and it's not fair to him. I do think he played a part in how the roster was constructed. I do think he is why Kyrie Irving is here, because I think he wanted some more help. And unfortunately, this team is just so talent deficient. There are so many wasted roster spots that this stuff has finally caught up with them. What I am particularly amused by, guys, Tim says all of his favorite teammates are gone this year too. That's true, but Luka did sign off on Dorian Finney-Smith getting traded. They asked him. So, the Brunson thing is a completely different deal. And as much as I want to be hard on the Mavericks, I don't know anyone that thought he was worth a honest-to-goodness max. Shooting variance is so important to this team, and they just don't necessarily have it. I find myself the reason a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to be really mad tonight. You're going to be heated. You're going to be off the guys. I'm sorry. I've been here with this team. I try to take joy in the wins, but I've been unhappy with this team for most of the year. Signing JaVale McGee. When I was reading Mavs media pundits talking about how JaVale McGee was going to help this team, that was when I knew a lot of the people that I talked to do not know ball. I'm not a very smart man, but it's JaVale McGee. What are we doing? This team is just it's a again. I said I wasn't even mad. There's so many mistakes that pile up, mistakes and things that don't work. You only have so many bites at the apple, and when you make mistakes, it forces you to double down. I don't know. I'm very frustrated. I really wish I hadn't seen Mark Cuban wearing that shirt. That shirt killed me. What did it say? What were the words on the shirt, team? Somebody question authority. Billionaires don't get to wear that stuff. You just don't get to do it. I question authority. I am a guy with a blog. What are we doing? Enough from me. Let's hear from the great people out in Mavs land. Brian, this is your fault. You know that, right?
What you mean my fault? I just told y'all what was gonna happen, brother. I told y'all exactly. I'm so glad you got right to it, man. Bum, 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 bum. What did I say? I said fire Jason Kidd in November when we.
Don't hire Jason Kidd. How about that?
Listen, I said that too, but nobody's listening to me then. Nobody was listening to me in November. It's fine. I also said the season is cooked. This team is ass after they lost to the Pelicans again with no Brandon Ingram. I'm like, the season was very much hanging in the balance. When they lost that game, I said, yeah, we're playing for lottery odds and young guy development, going for it. And, I mean, look at what we did after that. We had one game where we pulled the victory out of our ass because AD was a double agent and LeBron wasn't playing. And we got in a overtime dogfight with the fucking Spurs for missing players up and down their shitty roster. And man, I'm not even gonna pretend that I watched this game. I had it on in the background while I was playing 2K with my friends.
Excellent.
I respect myself, and I'm not gonna watch the Mavericks on a
I
Friday.
respect myself. That's amazing.
I have much better shit to do with my night than to let them attempt to upset me. So I checked in on the score every 10, 15 minutes or so. And when I saw at halftime they were down by like 15, 17, I said, oh, yeah, they're about to trick this game off. Everybody is going to be mad. Everybody is going to jump onto this boat that I am on, looking for safe passage on the other side of the ocean. Listen, I'm glad y'all are here now. I wish you would have jumped on board with me a couple games ago. I think it was like 3 weeks ago when they lost to the Pelicans. But look, man, this team is bad. This coach is, at worst, actively sabotaging.
No, I don't think he's actively. It's like when you've lost people, you've lost people.
Man, listen, he's definitely lost the locker room, that's for sure. And to be somewhat fair to him, I hate to do it. I truly hate to do it because fuck him. But to be fair to him, look at the roster that this team stinks, dude. Everybody on this team is just looking like a loser more and more as the season goes on. From ownership down to the 15th man at the end of the day. And then Dennis being the one to bury the hatchet in them. Ooh. I laughed so hard.
Killer shot too. Let's be clear. I have no idea how that was not a foul on Luka Doncic. He elbowed the guy in the face, and then they get the ball back.
MMA style.
And then they get the ball back only for Dennis to hit a 31-footer.
Gamed them. They started the season off crazy, getting gamed by who's that dude on Phoenix? The stepbrother. Fucking Damian Lee. They started off the season like 3 or 4 games. They're getting gamed by him, and the season ended up getting gamed by Dennis Smith Jr. Man, you can't make this shit up. That was so funny to me, and I know that Cuban is about to go home and just self-medicate thinking about a Dennis Smith Jr. 3-pointer, and I just
cost plus drugs.
That warms my heart.
Cost plus drugs.
God, that warms my heart. Yeah, and they're gonna be cheap.
Cheap drugs. Good. Oh goodness. Thanks so much, Brian. You got anything else? Let's go lottery odds. Thanks so much, Brian. Talk soon. That's my favorite one. All right, I see a name I don't recognize as often in here, so we're going to go to some of these folks first. Hope you don't mind. Jeffrey, welcome. Oh, guess not. Guess Jeffrey did not want to come up here. Let's see who else we got. Let's go with Dallas. Dallas, welcome to the show. If you're in the chat, hit that unmute button.
Hey. Goodness. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. Welcome to the show.
Okay, cool. I've never actually jumped on before. Fan though, so I didn't watch the game. I was at like an improv show, and they noticed me that I was checking the score a lot, so they dragged me on stage. So suffice it to say, emotionally up and down this evening.
Emotional damage. I'm very sorry. That's amazing.
I mean, I got off stage and then found out we lost. That was the tip of the hat, or the tip of the cap, whatever. Anyway, listen, I don't think they should have hired Jason Kidd. I think that was a weird choice, and I think the perfect replacement for Rick Carlisle is unfortunately coaching for the Hawks now. So I don't know who the optimal replacement is. I've also heard 2 different camps of thought of they'll never replace Jason Kidd because then you lose Kyrie for sure. But how could we possibly go into a 3rd season of Jason Kidd at this point? Like,
Well, I regret, the main thing I keep bringing up, and I'm just going to do it more often because I'm an asshole. I don't care. They employed a man who beat off in the office and watched porn for years. I don't see them firing the coach for losing basketball games.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, that's what's funny to me is that, like, this is the thing that, like, it's so perverse that losing publicly and getting booed in an NBA game would be the thing that this front office would prioritize more than like sexual.
Well, clearly everyone at the game tonight was a Twitter personality because only Twitter people don't like this team. It's social media that's the problem, not the shitty product.
I don't know, man. You're not going to see much. You're not going to see DeMarcus Lawrence showing up to more.
That's a great fucking point.
why you're not going to get celebrities rolling up if you're just going to get fucking embarrassed by these teams like that. I don't know. One thing that I saw Mark Stein tweeted that boos are raining in the third quarter. I watch a lot of European soccer. It's pretty normal to hear your team get booed when they suck. I don't know how often NBA teams get booed at home. Like, maybe I'm just short-sighted because the Mavs have been relatively successful the last couple of years. But, like, how often is that a thing? Because, like, if your team is really bad, then it might be good, and you're a lottery team, and you're not getting booed, really. But, like, expectations are so low at this point. Again, to my point initially, I'm at the point where, like, it might be different now where I don't care how much Kyrie Irving might like Jason Kidd or how much Luka likes being coddled. Like, you cannot bring him back next year and expect to be taken seriously by anybody. Like, his coaching staff isn't an X and O's friendly coaching staff. He obviously can't draw plays or shit. It's just tough. Like, this is just embarrassing to watch. And Luka just needs to get coached. I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, but at the same time, it's really hard to come to like coaching response at this point because I keep thinking I've seen it all, and then to lose to Charlotte after a second road back to ball, not even on the roster anymore.
Pretty remarkable. Terry Rozier didn't play. This was basically their B team.
Did they give like Gordon Hayward like they make Gordon Hayward look like prime Gordon Hayward? That's incredible. Like how can your defense be that bad that I feel like it's like 2017 Gordon Hayward again? This is insane.
And sorry, you guys can hear me typing. I don't mean to. I am editing at the same time, so it is a little bit of everything. So, Dallas, I can hear you, but the team out there can't hear you very well. It's usually like a green light lights up around your name, but it's oh well. But I appreciated you. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear you on the recording. You got anything else?
Yeah. No, sorry. I guess, is it time to start speculating where Luka might get traded or go to free agency?
Not quite yet. Next year. We got another year.
Yeah, sorry for bad quality.
No, it's not your fault. It just isn't picking you up for some reason. So thanks so much. Appreciate you. Yeah, audio stuff is funky with this app, so we're just going to let it go. Okay, Brian, I didn't realize you were done writing your post that you were due tonight, so I was ignoring you for another 15 minutes to let you finish writing. So what's going on?
No, all good, man. Hopefully that, I feel like I had fun with that. I don't think anybody's going to read it because.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, not everybody's traffic is down after losses. That's the truth.
It's okay. And I didn't think we'd want to actively cheer for the Lakers tonight because we want them to actually beat OKC because, we have the tiebreaker on the Lakers, and we don't have it against a tanky OKC team. Somehow.
They're not tanky. I mean, I think they just must have realized in like the last 15 games that they're not going to actually lose.
No, absolutely not. And the fact that SGA is not in MVP talk is slander because that guy's fucking great. But yeah, like I'm like you. Usually this team finds a way to make me mad, but I think I'm just so dead inside. I just don't have anything left to give or get mad at. I just have to just laugh at the chaos. But I wanted to talk about a spicy point, a very interesting kind of swing, kind of quietly. We've seen fans and even Dallas media really approach this basketball team.
Yes.
Very interesting to see the mood change on. Just like Kirk, like we've seen people at. I'll go ahead and say it. I've seen people at here at the ticket actively say Kid is gone next year, which I'm just like, whoa, where has this been? Because the amount of people saying how mid Rick Carlisle was and Kid will be a great hire is just. It's very fascinating to me to see the mood change on just like the team in general, just like Kid, Luka, like just very demonstrative. There was an article that dropped today where somebody was actively calling out how bad of signing JaVale McGee was, which is like, That is the most Captain America article I think I've ever seen drop from like a media outlet all this year on the Dallas Mavericks. But I digress. It is just fascinating to me to see kind of like the mood change, because even Callie Kaplan kind of dropped a very brunt, like I think in her piece today, she
it was an aggregation. It was an aggregation of Chris Haynes' piece, and it's just at a certain point you have to look at it and say, this is what Jalen Brunson said happened, and this is the results of the mistake down the road.
Right. And just I think the evidence is so apparent, and like you can't not like acknowledge how bad the situation is across the board. And even the most optimistic Mavericks people, whether they just be fans or media people, are just like, oh, this is not good. And what is your opinion on just like the vibe and tone on how like it's shifted on this team from like other media outlets that are not like Mavs Money?
Well, I mean, it has much more to do with results than anything else, because as you inch closer to the finish line and you like the Mavericks, they stand a real chance of what's the record
not making the play-in game.
Well, not just not making the play-in game, like not winning 40 games. So to go from winning 50, I think 52 last year or whatever it was, to that far of a step back, like that's going to you can't ignore the results. The closer you, like when you're still X number of games off, you know, there's plenty of reasons to say, okay, here's why they can turn it around. Hell, there's reason to do that right now with how bad the rest of the season is. But as you get closer, people start to you start to not being able to sugarcoat what's happening. And it's not that I think the local media has sugarcoated this. It's just you expect a team with Kyrie and Luka made the Western Conference Finals to turn it the fuck around. It's just, I'm not like, the data does not support this. I mean, it's like there was a really good piece from Grant Afseth today criticizing Luka Doncic's defense in the Warriors game, and it was bad. I'm sorry for people that don't want to hear that. It was bad. But then I saw, you know, my friend Istok posted some stats before the game where it's like, well, here's the defensive numbers with Luka on, and here's the numbers with Luka off. And then not just the game, like the whole season. And it's like 116.8 was their defensive rating. That's horrifying. Doesn't matter if Luka's on or off.
That's bad.
It's like his point was it's not just Luka, which is true. But it's like these sorts of things. It's like we're arguing over like ant mounds. Like this team is butt, and there's just no other way around it.
Yeah, and I find it hard to really point out. I haven't listened to the post game you and Matt have done yet, but I will obviously at some point this evening. I find it hard to really point the blame entirely at Kidd for like just rotations or anything on this game, but I will point the blame the fact that the Pelicans basically did you a favor. They pounded the Hornets into dust, and at some point, if you are the vibes guy, and that's what Kidd is, he had his two All-Stars in this lineup tonight, could not beat a team on the second night of a back-to-back without two of their core rotation players. Like, I'm sorry that, like, whether he wants to acknowledge that or not, like, I know he said their first quarter, like, effort was awful. Yeah, it was, but are you going to take ownership of any of that? Like, if he at some point needs to fall on the sword, but based on his approach, his personality, his image that he wants to like fix, he's not going to do that, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, but I'll hop up, buddy, and appreciate you, and we'll have fun on Sunday. Noon tip off.
That's right. Shout out to a noon game. All right, talk soon. What the Mavericks were doing is, in this case, they looked really far into the schedule and they said, you know what, we're going to let those Dallas Mavericks fans watch the season opening of the Succession on Sunday night. Okay, let's keep going. Andrew, my goodness, it has been a long time. Welcome back.
Good evening, Kirk. This is the first season in my 20-plus years of being a Mavs fan that I'm actively rooting for the head coach to get fired. And sadly, unless Luka tells Cuban to fire Kidd, there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
In Cuban's entire ownership of the Mavericks, more head coaches have quit than have been fired.
Say that again? I need to hear that again.
Repeating again. In Cuban's ownership of the Dallas Mavericks, more head coaches have quit than have been fired.
So we're talking, let's go through the list.
Nelly quit, turned it over to Avery. Avery was the only one to get fired. And then Carlisle quit 2 years ago, so bring Kidd in.
Wow. I mean, I sort of think this is a bit of a semantics game because I think that Carlisle quit before he could get fired.
True.
but
still.
Yes, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so the chances of Cuban firing Kidd is only if Luka tells him to do so, or he'll leave earlier. Mm-hmm. And sadly, what I see happening in June is I hear Adam Silver saying, with the 11th pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the New York Knicks select fill in the blank.
Oh, goodness. Andrew, thanks so much, man. You got anything else?
Nope. Have a good evening.
All right, I got to read this just because I read the earlier one. And look, guys, I've liked the Kyrie experience, but this is a hell of a quote. Kyrie on the booze in Dallas. So what? You obviously want to play well, but it's only 5 people on the court that can play for the Dallas Mavericks. If the fans want to change places, then hey, be my guest. Got years of work ahead to be great enough to be on this level. Guys, I got to tell you, that's a bold statement from a dude who's changed teams 4 times. Oh, well. Coming up next, let's do Sam. Hey, Sam, what's up?
Hey, Kirk, what's going on?
Oh, just another day in the madhouse.
Oh, yeah, this is the madhouse. Look, so I've said the same 2 things pretty much the whole season, which is honestly kind of sad. That I truly hate this team, and like I said, and the second thing I've said is this will go down as the worst Mavs season of all time, all things considered. Just with the expectations, I wouldn't say expectations. It's just the fact that after game 1 against Phoenix, where you blow that 25-point lead, you would say, okay, this team has some pride. And they came back and beat Memphis. So you say, okay, it's just one of those games, season opener, blah, 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 blah. Then you have the 16-point fourth quarter lead with 4 minutes to go. They have some pride. The Bucks game where you missed 15 free throws. Oh, they're going to fix it. They're going to make free throws. The Lake, there's more games I'm missing. I can't even think of them, all of them. That's the sad part. There's so many games where it's just like, you just do something different, you win the game. I can't remember who said it on Twitter, but basically they went over all the leads that the Mavericks had this year, and if they just won half of the games with about 10 plus points, they would have 44 wins right now. And that's just the difference right there. This team, we're stupid. We're a dumb team. Like whether it's forgetting, to like Luke can go in the backcourt, or whether it's the out of bounds play. I don't even care. The referee. I watched that again. The Mavericks are just dumb. They just weren't paying attention.
They weren't. No, this whole focus. I'm glad you brought that up because we didn't talk about it on the last post game show because everybody was annoyed about so many other things as we should have been. But the fact that the Mavericks have spent 3 days on this and then come out here and they led the Hornets 2-0 and then never led again. So have some fucking pride. Go over yourselves. Stop doing this. Oh, we got screwed. Nobody likes a whiner. Nobody likes a whiner. Get out there, take control of what you can, and win games.
Yeah, and I convinced myself. You said it last post game. If they don't win these next 3 games, the season's more or less it's over. And I'm convinced it's over because I don't care if they beat the Pelicans on Sunday or the Hornets on Sunday.
Yeah,
I don't think we're beating the Pacers. Just to be honest,
Pacers have been on some go check what's been happening there. Rick Carlisle has a master. Remember what he did with Dallas to get them as bad as they were. Because the Cuban got in trouble following, I want to say it was the All-Star break where he basically said, we're going to tank like mad. And they did, because that team wasn't near as bad as they were. It's just they won the one game they couldn't have. It was people were talking about it in the chat earlier. That crazy game against Memphis.
It was stupid.
Salah Mejri and Devin Harris. Ugh.
Yeah, that was horrible. But you say that, but this team is honestly not any better. So we're not going to beat them. We're definitely not beating the Heat. We're not going to beat the Hawks. I'm convinced of that. And that's it. Season over. Like, even if every other team lost ahead of us, that's just how bad the West is this year, which is just ironic. We can still take and still get in the play-in. We don't deserve to be.
Sure.
I don't want to go through that at this point. It's this team sucks. Like Luka, like I feel bad for you. Like the quote he said earlier, you got the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's not fair. It really isn't.
No, it's not.
It's an organizational thing. Like you allowed this team to sign JaVale fucking McGee, garbage. Within 8 games, he's getting DNP CDs. You didn't want to upgrade. You signed Christian Wood, or you traded for Christian Wood, and for some stupid reason, the coach just hates him. I'm convinced he just doesn't like him. To where he just wasn't playing enough. And now this is where you're at. Because you want to experiment throughout the whole season. You rested Luka on back-to-back to lose a game against Houston where we shouldn't have lost. We lose a game where we shouldn't have lost. We lose a game against Orlando where we shouldn't have lost. And it's just so on and so on. Oh, like, we're losing at home against bad East teams. That's pathetic. Like, this team's a joke. So all you can do is honestly laugh at this point. This team is a fucking joke. But yeah, that's all I got. I'm just mad.
I understand, man. Thanks so much for hanging out. Talk soon. Let's go with Mr. Raimondo. Welcome back. I know you only want to come in here whenever it's a win, but I feel bad if you're in here after a loss. That means you must be mad. Find that unmute button and talk to us. Give my man a second. It's okay, because using this app can sometimes be a little funky. Okay. All right. Try somebody else, and he's able to get back in here. Mr. Green.
Hello. A few weeks ago, I said to you, I don't see Luka having any fun out there. Hasn't been smiling, hasn't been, his joyful playing self. Obviously, his post-game comments has come around to say the same thing. I think that one of the things that might be eating at him is that $40 million a year. Luka, Kyrie and Kidd are playing, handsies and footsies and best pals in the locker room. He sees it slipping away from, being his team. And, man, he's at the end of it. And like I said, mate, this team is just so painful to watch.
Certainly is.
I can't see a world in which Kidd, Kyrie, and Luka are together next year. It just doesn't make sense. It's just been such a letdown. And I don't think Cuban's that stupid. Because if Luka's saying that to the press after a game, what do you reckon he's going to be saying to Cuban?
I earnestly don't know. I mean, he's not been right since he hurt his heel against the Pelicans. And I think you could really go further back in some regards, but it's very.
To me, it's like Luka's like, well, I'm not going to try. You got Kyrie. You want to pay him $50 million? Get him out there winning as a game, and we've seen how that's went. So it's looking pretty sad, Kirk. I've got nothing more to say, mate, except for it's the end of the season as far as I'm concerned. They're pathetic. I just don't want to tune in and just spoil my days anymore. So I'm just going to go dig holes in the sand where I'll get more enjoyment.
I understand. Well, thank you for hanging out with us.
Thanks.
All right. Let's go next to, we're going to try to invite, there he is. Let's see if we'll get him back up here. Welcome.
All right. I think I got it working.
Let's see if we can hear you.
Hello?
We
Hello?
can hear you. Can you hear us? So he might be in his car. Yeah, we're here. We can hear you, buddy. Oh, well. We tried it, friend. I think it has to do probably with the in-out audio connection in the car. Sometimes that thing won't pick up. I'm guessing he was at the game tonight. Well, let's go to somebody else at the game tonight. David, what's up? David is expecting to pull out of the chat and said, "Hey, what's up?"
There we go. Nothing. I went with my dad tonight to watch my nephew who was there. He was on the floor like doing a birthday celebration, so that's been awesome. He's like 10 with all his friends. Wish they had gotten a win, obviously, and didn't look like hot, stinky garbage. But yeah, I about halfway through the game, like through the second quarter, I was like, just lose. Like I got people to agree and laugh and applaud when I was yelling, sell the team, like a dumbass Knicks fan from 3 years ago. And by the way, one of them was an employee, like one of the ushers, was agreeing with me. So, yeah, it was God being there. The boos in the third quarter were deserved. This team is just totally given up. And all I wanted to say was watching warmups, I knew we were in for a rough night because everybody's dicking around. Luka's practicing his stupid bullshit behind the basket corner threes with a bunch of, with like Antoine Wright, or whatever his name is, McKinley Wright the third or whatever. Then like Kleba and freaking Dwight Powell are, doing like bullshit, like soccer moves in the other corner. Meanwhile, JaVale McGee's like floating around, just high-fiving everyone and I'm like, where's the seriousness? You guys lost a game, claimed that it was stolen from you after you let 125 other points get scored at will from a 3-shooting team, no less, at the rim. I think they've 67% the Warriors game. And then tonight we made the Charlotte Hornets in our house look like a damn playoff team. I mean, this team sucks and they don't even care. Maybe Luka cares, but he's so out of shape right now. There's nothing he can do. And I'm not sure if it's because the injury or but he was gassed after a 3-pointer. I'm not sure if it showed on TV, but he hit a 3-pointer. I want to say it was in the third or early in the fourth. And he came away doing his his little fingers and, looking all excited, but he was like visibly gassed. And yeah, I'm not sure if that came through on the TV, but that these were just the things I noted that I'm just like, this team is so off.
1, 2, 3, Cancun.
He's gonna have a hell of a trip once he gets there.
No, man, because up next, like there's not to be, I'm pretty sure it's the World Cup that's this summer. There's like a real argument to be made that it's best for him and the Mavericks to shut him down now. It's not going to happen, but if he wants to play this summer, which of course he does, he could use some rest. He needs to get his body right. His body's not right. It hasn't been right for months with the way he plays and the physical toll he takes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's noticeable. Like he's never been a great defender, but like even tonight, his handles look like garbage. I didn't see the box score afterwards because I just didn't even. I left early. I never leave early. I left with 3 minutes to go because I have a 6 a.m. flight to New York tomorrow. Yeah. So I was like, if they win and I don't see it, congrats. I'm not sticking around the last 3 minutes to watch them piss away this game. And I'm glad I didn't, but, yeah. What did he have? Like 5 or 6 turnovers. It felt like he coughed up the
5,
ball.
but he had 10 assists. He had a pretty decent passing game, but Dennis picked his pocket a couple of times. There was some good, they played good defense on him.
They did. And Williams looked really solid. Like they have some interesting pieces that I keep forgetting they're an NBA team.
I desperately wanted Mark Williams. He is such a big person and does a lot of the same stuff Dwight does, but bigger. And he was like point shaving at points tonight too, like missing layups. Like it was wild. So
missing free throws. I think he had a couple brick free throws. Anyway, I feel for everybody on here. I'm just at this point, I'm like, go ahead and lose hard because I did, like the other guy said, I don't want to hear with the 11th pick, New York gets so-and-so, like, fuck it. Maybe we get some like weird luck for once and get like Wembanyama and we can all have a victory cigar heading into next year with actual expectations. So,
well, thanks so much for hanging out.
All right.
We're gonna give Mr. Ramundo one more try. 'Cause third time is the charm.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Hey, we did it.
Hey,
At
I'm
least
sorry.
something worked tonight. What's
Right. I was at the game tonight. I went with the wife, and yeah, I mean, what I saw is, I'm going to quote, David pretty closely, is like, it was, their energy was not there, right? They just showed up, and we show up and we pay money to see them, and they don't want to be there, and that's pretty horrible, right? I try to be as optimistic as possible. I prefer having good vibes around me than being like, all like negative or whatever. But I mean, just, it is what it is. That's what they are. They don't want to be there. And that's like super annoying.
It's really that's really something that everybody that was at the game tonight could kind of feel it. I've not gone to enough Mavs games in the last 10 years to really judge that sort of thing. But it's very clear from the opening tip they didn't take them seriously, because the Mavericks led 2-0 and then never led again. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think I've been to like 25 or 30 games this year, it feels like. And, I sit pretty close to watch them walk out of the tunnel. And, you get to the point that you're just watching them, and it's just a chore, some games, for them to actually show up. They're just like, hey, I'm not going to, they did that with the Cleveland game this year. I don't know if y'all remember that one at home. I mean, it was pathetic. They just had no energy, and you could tell right away. And they did it, they've been doing it all year. So it's just pretty weird. Like I said, I'm a very optimistic Maverick fan. Like, I still want them to, go to the playoffs if they can do it, just because I enjoy watching the game. I enjoy watching the team. I invest tons of hours to watching this team, right? So you want, and money, right?
That's right.
Definitely get that out, right? And then you get frustrated as a fan, because it's like, why am I paying to go see someone that doesn't want to be there? That's just, and Luka's the number one culprit, honestly. Like, I mean, I have a kid named Luka, that's, I have a 3-year-old that's Luka. I mean, we're big. I'm a big Maverick fan. And, you get to that point where you're just like, the way that Dallas loves him, Dallas fans will turn on him as quick as that. Because if he keeps that attitude next year, I don't care if it's personal issues that he's having. I mean, we all have them. I've gone through mine. And you just have to be able to get through them, right? I mean, it sucks, right?
Sure.
Nobody's telling you, like, he has a job to do, and its job is to play professional basketball for the Mavericks. And now you're kind of, as a person trying to understand, okay, that's still a job, right? So I'm sure that he sees it as a job and he sees it as work. But I'm sorry that joyful Luka's not there. And as quickly as you love him, the city will turn on him. And I know that because I've seen it happen.
Sure.
And it's gonna happen to him if he doesn't get his head out of his ass and he doesn't start just showing up and being a leader for the team. And if that's the case, just get them the hell out of Dallas. And I mean, I'm being for real. Get him out of Dallas, get what you can for him, and restart. Because you can't win with the guy who doesn't want to show up. And that's it.
Well, I'm glad you took some time to hop back in here. I do understand, you go to these games. It's part of why I don't go. Like, what you just described is why I don't go as media, because it's an endeavor to get to the game and back. So I'm appreciative you hanging up with us, all right?
All right, man. Appreciate it. I'll hang up and listen.
All righty. I love live callers, folks that actually go to the game. I'm going to bring up my co-host Josh, who did not see the game tonight. He watched something fun in John Wick. Josh, what are you up to, man?
I just got done watching something that lived up to the expectations for a change.
Ooh. You are a
change of pace from our daily. No. I'm saying I watched something that lived up to my expectations.
Right. So I'm just saying, you saying that is impressive to me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was a blast. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's the best of the 4. Everyone should go see it. But Kirk, I know I've been talking in Slack. What happened?
I mean, it's
I'm looking at the box score.
The last two
What
live
happened?
callers that were at the game hit it. The Mavericks played with the energy of a corpse, and it I got to tell you, Dwight Powell had an incredible game, and the Mavericks were still getting whooped. I mean, it was just one of those, and that's really kind of what it comes down to. Like Frank Ntilikina got in and hit some shots. Jaden Hardy bailed the Mavericks out time and again. Kyrie Irving has a 18, 9, and 7 line with one turnover, but he could not hit the broadside of a barn. It was really like he's 6 of 16 really doesn't do justice to how he missed, I think, 5 wide open threes. Like his post-game comments reflect his own, in my opinion, reflect his frustration with his own play. Like he didn't like the boos, and I understand that, but sorry, Bub, it's sports. Deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that his foot, he's not.
Well, I think that's why he's
not
pissed,
right
because he's like, I'm playing through this and I'm getting booed.
No.
Fuck y'all. And I I see both sides of it.
Yeah, and I mean, he was before he hurt his foot, he was in the middle of one of the best stretches of his career. I mean, he was lighting it up since he's been he's been lighting it up all season.
That's not me typing, guys. That's Josh.
One of his best seasons.
That's Josh. Everybody was mad at me earlier because I was typing, rage typing. No, it's fine. Everything else.
I'm sorry. But yeah, that must suck because, I mean, his last 3 games before the foot injury, 40, 30, and 33, and he on amazing shooting. He's having an amazing game against New Orleans that they should have won, and then he gets hurt because he plays 41 minutes. And then he's basically been kind of limping to the finish line since. That's got to suck, especially for someone like him. I mean, we talk about it. He misses games. He gets hurt a lot.
Yeah,
and he misses
it's
games.
Fine.
And
that coming in. That's part of the experience.
Yeah, and that sucks. Man. Maxi Kleba, was he as invisible as his stat line looks tonight?
Yeah, he was awful. Shout out to he has been so unbelievably bad since Skin yelled at Mavs fans for doubting him. He did hit a game winner, so we got to give him credit there. But it's just the guy he was coming into the season with too high of everybody needed too much from him coming into the year. And he hasn't been that good, and I don't hold that against him. I hold the weight of expectations. It's just the Mavericks didn't do anything. I'm sorry. I've been reading some old takes today, and D Magazine's Jake Kemp. D Magazine's wrong with me. The Ticket's Jake Kemp wrote an off-season piece in the middle of the summer about. He's like, what? They improved the roster was basically his takeaway. And then today he wrote a piece where it's things are as bad as they could be in Dallas, and it's you don't want to know why? It's because they didn't improve the roster. They rolled out the same group of guys.
Yeah.
What? It's so funny. This whole.
I'm just sitting here thinking about how much bullshit I got last summer for being of all things, JaVale McGee. It wasn't even most. It was just are you guys serious? Why? I don't know why that was the straw that broke some people's backs when I.
Because it was NBA
made apparently the controversial take that JaVale McGee was a bad God.
That was the fucking take. It's a bunch of casuals that don't watch the NBA once the Mavericks are out of it. Sorry, I would bet my ass that most.
Well, it was coming from it was coming from other people that we know better though, and that was what was disappointing. And what sucks is it's there's no "I told you so" because we don't this sucks. I don't want the Mavericks to miss the playoffs. Yeah, this is awful. This is the worst season I can remember.
To me, it's this one and the first Harrison.
This might be the worst season since I've started. Yeah, but at least we knew that season was going to suck, right? There's a difference here.
I knew it was going to suck.
Yeah, I know. Maybe some people did. We're still hanging on, but I can't think of maybe the OJ Mayo year when Dirk was hurt. That kind of sucked because that was wow, the Dirk era is kind of over.
Year?
They're not.
Okay,
yes, that was the Mike James year when he started over Darren Collison.
That's definitively number one for me. That season turned me.
Yeah, I think so too. That was the season that came after Cuban saying we're better off without Dwight Howard, I believe, or at least that was the season after it was either after Darren Williams said no or Dwight Howard said no. I can't remember. There's so many rejections. to keep track of there. Man, that's crazy. Like it was the first thing I did when the credits rolled. I was like, oh, let me check them out. Because honestly, I didn't think about them. Like during the movie, I wasn't thinking about them because I was having such a good time. And I was like, wow, this is great. I'm not thinking about this dog shit team. And then I checked the app and I was like, okay, well, they couldn't have lost this game. And like 117-109, and to see that like apparently like the score hides how much of a game it wasn't. Like they got their ass kicked in the first half. Like it was just, I mean, what do you even say anymore? Like the season's over. Like they're going to go on the road for like 5 straight games. Like they're going to suddenly turn it around. Like, I mean, the post game sounds like this was the last game of the season and they got eliminated, doesn't it? Like no one. There's no rallying.
There's a real argument to be made that they should pack everybody up. I mean, Matthew talked about that on the post game show. The sum of all, let's just.
What are you doing with Kyrie?
Let's just address this because we're an hour in, and anybody that is listening on the recording of this show on a weekend is a true glutton for punishment. You are our people. I love you. But let's just be clear here. The worst possible outcome for the Mavericks is finishing 9th, 10th, missing the playoffs, and then not getting their draft pick. I can't, that's my sum of all fears.
Yes. What are they right now, Tankathon? They're 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So they would lose.
They need to, there's an earnest argument to be made that they should pack it up. They're not gonna. I mean, I don't know if you saw this tonight, but the billionaire owner, Mark Cuban, wore a shirt that said "Question Authority" tucked into a pair of jeans. It's my favorite thing.
What a loser. Like, I wonder how much of that bullshit affected their energy level to come out of this game. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into things.
The pregame show talked they had on Nico Harrison to talk about the protest, and it's like, yes.
Are you serious?
We're talking.
That is a joke. That is an absolute joke.
Enormous loser energy. Everyone involved in this should be fucking embarrassed. It's like getting mad. I promised I wasn't going to get mad.
The response to that should have been, screw the bad call. We need to play better. Let's go win this game. Like, the fact that they lingered on that, that is unreal. That is not an organization that has its priorities straight. Like, that's awful. That's horrible. Like, how does that not seep into the locker room if your GM is talking that nonsense? Like,
yeah, because they know they fucked up. You fuck up and move on.
Yeah.
Basketball has too many possessions, too many minutes, too many games to harp on one possession to make a point. I understand the point they were making, but it's such loser energy. Well, do you want to hang out?
That explains.
Will I bring people up?
Yeah. Bring someone in. So I don't want you staying up all night.
No, I don't care.
I'll hang out a little bit.
I got kids soccer tomorrow. All right, Jeffrey, we're going to try this again. Jeffrey came in and then quit immediately. What's up, man?
Hey, Kirk, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Hey, first time, long time. Really appreciate what you guys do. I appreciate that you guys are a little bit more negative, I think. And rightly so.
I prefer pragmatic, but it ends up being pragmatic, being negative.
Yeah. The thing I hate about the negative thing is it's like I'm not trying to be negative. This is like in my brain, I'm calling it like I see it. And if it's good, I'm going to say it's good. If it's bad, it's going to be bad. Like there's no, I'm not trying to be optimistic or negative. I'm just trying to assess what's in front of me. And that's what really pisses me off when people are like, try to boil down my analysis that I work really hard on to, he's just a hater. It's like, fuck off. I don't want to hear that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I genuinely do appreciate it. Josh, I remember the Twitter back and forth with you and Jake. I mean, I like Jake a lot too. It's just, I think you guys bring a pretty unique point of view. So, really appreciate it. But your Cuban comments just get me thinking, like, I'm a long suffering Cowboys fan. And I think Cuban's actually been the worst owner over the last decade or, 12, 13 years since the actual championship. It's been a horrible 10 years, and he just does so much clown shit. Like the Kobe jersey retirement is just, that was a cringe moment. Like, and that's not even, relating to the actual team and their composition, but all the scandals, he's like just turning over the whole franchise to Luka and not trying to put in any structure. he's just a loser recently, and it's super frustrating. Like he's not the same owner I remember pre-2010.
Well, some of it's his age, some of it's the fact that he changed the league for the better, and you inevitably become the thing you because he was a disruptor, and now he's the old guard. And when you're 40 and you're within a stone's throw of some of these players' age, it's pretty cool. But as he's gotten older, and I wrote 2,000 words about this before they signed Jason Kidd, a lot of what he brings to the table, Cuban as an idea, I think players really like. Cuban as a person, who relates to a 60-year-old man? That's tough. And it's not his fault. Like he came on my show, Josh and I show last year, almost a year ago this time, or a little over a year ago this time. And he was like, wouldn't you do this if you were a billionaire? And I was like, yeah, thank God I'm not a billionaire.
Yeah. And like last thing I'll say is I think he's just lost his way. He's kind of become a caricature of himself. And I think the Kidd hiring is the perfect example of that, right? Like I heard that before they hired Carlisle, they did like crazy studies. They brought in like consultants. They talked to, it was a really thorough process. And, I don't know if Carlisle was the favorite back then before they hired him, but, lo and behold, they made a really smart hire and it was well thought out. This Kidd thing like happened in 2 days. They didn't even run a process.
Well, I mean, they threw Dirk out there as a human meat shield. Well, Dirk said it was a great idea, so let's do it. I will never like that's the most. Yeah. That upset me so much. I didn't even know what to do with it, because then if you were to say anything, it became, well, you're questioning Dirk. You're questioning our franchise best player. Do you know more than Dirk? And my answer was like, well, no, but I also know shit that Dirk doesn't know, because Dirk probably doesn't know what he did in Milwaukee because he was playing basketball.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's like Dirk and Kidd, Hall of Fame players, but they may not be the best decision makers. And it's just, I feel like Cuban used to be so smart and shrewd, and he's just completely lost his way. He's just flailing now.
Yeah. So a couple of things happen. One is and this is because of Cuban, because he ushered in a lot of this. The league got smarter. Like when Cuban joined the NBA, you have to remember how many dog shit franchises there were. Like Donald Sterling Clippers, Vinny Del Negro coaching the Chicago Bulls. Like, I mean, there was some organizations that were just pits, and they were just there to collect ticket revenue and sell merch, and that's it. And they didn't care, and they had old ways, and they didn't know. And Cuban was a young guy that wanted to mix things up, and to his credit, he ushered in an era of smarter basketball thinking. Like, you can give him credit for that, because the league has gotten significantly smarter since he's been an owner. Like, you look at even some of these bad teams, like, still have like good principles and seem to, do the right things. Like OKC, hasn't been to the playoffs in years, but you look at the way they're managed, the way style they play, it's like they're going to be set up pretty great in the future. Like, there's still some perpetually bad franchises, because there's still some older owners out there that are kind of hanging on, but like, it's different. It's a different ballgame now. He doesn't have that advantage.
We just lost to a bad franchise run by a bad owner.
Yes. Yeah. This is one of the few teams. Yeah. And then another thing is, this is Cuban's first time having to cater to a superstar that is not guaranteed to give him undying loyalty and respect. Like Cuban inherited Dirk. Dirk was on the roster for two seasons, I think, before Cuban bought the team, at least one. I think Cuban bought it in 2000 and Dirk got drafted in 98. And Cuban didn't really have to, he grew up in that era, the mid-2000s. There just wasn't, stars did not change teams whole often. Like, you think about how many years KG stayed in Minnesota, Tim Duncan in San Antonio, Kobe with the Lakers. There were only a couple of big star moves every now and then. It was KG moving to the Celtics, Shaq getting traded to the Heat, but it wasn't like it is now, where it's like, James Harden has played for like 4 teams in like 5 seasons, like MVP, and he's won an MVP. Like that did not happen in the mid-2000s. So that was not something he had to worry about. He didn't also have to worry about spending. He could outspend everyone, because the penalties for outspending and the tax were not what it was like now. And now he's dealing with, like, the penalties are greater, and he is not 100% a basketball owner anymore. You think about his other interests have expanded since, 2005, when he, like, Remember, it used to just be Mavs. He was not, Shark Tank when he first got here. He was 100% all Mavs. He's got a lot of other investments and businesses now that he has to manage. So money is different. Going into the tax is different. He doesn't have that advantage anymore. He's got a superstar that you have to cater to. You talked about the Carlisle hire, and you think about it like Cuban hasn't hired that many coaches since he's been here. Like, that's been kind of a thing. And
Josh, you missed Andrew coming up.
Carlisle resigned.
Andrew came up on stage and noted that they've only had to fire one coach, and it was
yeah. So Cuban doesn't fire coaches really. Like, he tries to give them chances, and he didn't want to fire Carlisle. I mean, if you read the quotes and you talk about it, like, maybe it was inevitable. Maybe he would have fired him if Carlisle didn't resign. We don't really know, but it sounded like he wanted to try to make it work. And the kid thing happens because he's now faced with an era of, oh my God, I can lose my star. And so now he's kind of shifting gears, and he's never had to build a team around a guy where he doesn't have the security that he had with Dirk. Like, he never had to worry about Dirk leaving. I mean, I know Dirk has said, like, maybe once or twice it got a little close, but, like, Dirk was never leaving. And, now he's figuring out, oh my God, I got to build it. Like, I got to keep a star happy. Let's bring in Kid. Let's bring in the guy the players like, because, Carlisle didn't work. So it's changing things. If he didn't have to worry about Luka leaving, I bet you he hires a different coach than Jason Kidd. Like, I really do, because I think he really valued what Rick brought.
Well, I mean, the challenge is that what they had hoped for from Kidd was that to help bring Luka back to earth as he was sort of spiraling upward in ways that weren't healthy. And unfortunately, what we've seen over the last 3 months, and, Josh, I'm sure you've seen the quotes by now. Like, Luka's quote in the postgame is it's the most human I've ever felt about him, because he's such a machine, and he's on a different level of basketball player. And I feel bad for him, but at the same time, his behavior is fucking terrible. And they've not been able to they've been able to do nothing to curb it. It's gotten, like, guys, like, I'm going to get killed for this for any of our Slovenian fans who have been listening, but, like, go check out a game in November and a game now. The stuff he does now is almost a parody. He argues every fucking.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, but that's, Cuban does, there are basketball reasons Cuban doesn't have advantage anymore, and then there's some other personal things. But I think it's just, he's not the smartest guy in the room anymore. And he banked on that for a lot of the Dirk era. And then he also had Dirk, who was like a one-of-one superstar. So he's doing stuff that he's never had to do before. And that's tough when you're 60. It's tough to teach an old dog new tricks. So, we'll see what happens. But I've thought that he's never going to fire Kidd no matter what happens. But, I mean, if they don't even make the play-in, maybe all bets are off. I don't know. But, I don't know. It's getting pretty dark out there for sure. I mean, we're at a point where now the Cowboys are the team that, like, draft well and make the really smart offseason moves. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah. That's the epiphany I had tonight is, holy crap, the Cowboys have actually had a better decade than the Mavs. And Cuban is becoming Jerry. Like, it's, in a lot of ways, it's sad.
Yeah, except Jerry at least hired, like, who is Cuban's Will McClay? Like, I don't know. Is it Nico? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. But yeah, was it? Might have been. We'll see.
This is great takes. What else you got for us, Jeffrey?
Awesome.
Thanks for hanging out, man. I hope you come back. Even when we move to YouTube, to Josh's chagrin. Harris, my man, what's going on?
Dude, Mavs got me fucked up. I came from the game today. I definitely picked the worst season to get season tickets, so that's been a great experience. It's just like, I know they're limited. I know that the front office is doing, but they're not really giving a shit. Like everyone has been saying, they're not giving enough effort to succeed. Like, Luka and Kyrie are hurt. That makes sense. Kyrie is not going to shoot 1 of 8 on wide open threes in a normal game, but no one is making it easier for him. Can Christian Wood, when he gets passed out of a double team, make a decision within 2 seconds so that no one recovers on the backside? And it's just like, oh, they have to do the same shit again.
can Josh Green look to the basket once in the whole game? When
the Josh stuff is
relying
on
him
its
to score-
own realm of weird, and I don't know how to talk about it.
It's so insane. How is he scoring 20 points in games we don't have these stars, and then not looking to the basket at all?
If you go to any GIF searcher and type in Muppet Fast, there's this video of I can't even remember what it's from, but of like a Muppet zooming around like a lunatic, and that's what I think of. Like when Josh plays with Kyrie and Luka, he becomes stupid. I don't.
Yeah, it's just. I
just noticed his stat line. Holy crap.
He took 3 shots. And he jumped I guess he does this once of every game. I've been there. Like he drives directly to the basket, is maybe like 2 feet from it, and passes it out in midair when he could have just gone for a shot. Like it's fine if you don't make it, but like you gotta when your stars are hurt and you're the guy who's relied on when they're not playing the game. If they're not playing well, maybe just drive to the basket. Maybe try to make a shot. Maybe try to don't make Frank Ntilikina look like the best role player on the team. And it's did y'all listen to the dunker spots? They went over the
I saw
teams.
it and I was I can't subject myself to this because they're just gonna cook us, and I can't.
They cooked us. They cooked us so hard, dude. Oh my god. He basically talked about how Kyrie and Luka, he didn't like the way the teams were defending us because they basically just say, okay, we're still going to double Luka and we're going to pre-rotate to Kyrie, and it's going to be the same situation that you had with Spencer and stuff. So the other role players have to do it, and now you have less role players. And trying to go big like they've been doing has been bad because it makes us slower on rotations, and we can't rebound anyways because they suck at rebounding. So what is it really fixing? And I mean, Reggie Bullock had a great game running around Steph last time, but if you put a person with a ball in their hand who's going to dribble at him even a little bit, he's cooked. He's done. He couldn't do anything this game. It's just how many wide open threes did y'all see in the first half? How are they?
Many.
That's an effort thing. Many wide open layups, that's bad enough. But when I really don't want to get at Kid for this because the roster sucks. The players aren't playing well. They're not doing it. But when you cut the lead to 6 and the group you've been in has played well, and then you sub all of the starters back in and you go back down to 15, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't understand. I don't know.
I feel you, man.
How did they give up 69 points to a Hornets team without Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball? And I'm looking at some of the guys in the lineup, and I'm like, man.
Yeah, they left a lot of wide open corner threes and did not rotate to them, didn't X out.
There's also a lot of big-to-big passing from high-low that the Mavericks could do nothing about.
They literally can't contest it at all. It's insane.
Hit your mute button, Josh Bowe, when you're typing, you slack ass. Just kidding. Yeah, we got killed by JT Thor. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Who the fuck is JT Thor?
I don't know, man. Great name though.
Oh my
Great
God,
name.
But it's hard to care so much about this team this season when you're at the finish line and they're acting like this.
Yeah.
It makes your whole commitment to the team as a fan feel like a waste.
All right, man. Thanks so much for hanging out. Appreciate you.
All right. Have a good night, man.
All right. See who we got next. Got a couple more people, and then I should go. Oh, God. We still got 4 left. We're going to get there, everybody. Michael.
Hey, Kirk. Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point. I think everyone's kind of already vented everything I was going to vent about. But I do just want to say that the Mavericks are they're actually a half game back from having a 96% chance of keeping their pick. So I think it's time to shut it down and just hope that surely this year will be the year where the Mavericks will move up in the lottery order.
And hey, the team directly ahead of them in the Tankathon standings is Chicago, who they play in the second to last game of the season, and who is in the play-in, a more secure play-in spot than the Mavericks are. So I don't know. Maybe that's the right call. I don't know.
They also play the Pacers, who are directly in front of them in the Tankathon. Or not directly, but
ahead of them. My thing is if Kyrie, if Kyrie isn't healthy, they, even if they were in a better playoff position, you don't want to fuck around with foot injuries. Those change careers, and especially at Kyrie's age. So even if they were like a half game back of sixth right now, I would seriously consider shutting down Kyrie until until he's at a point where he can't hurt himself any further. I don't know. Maybe that's where he is right now. Maybe he can't. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but to see him struggle, I mean, I didn't watch it, but to see his box score, I can only imagine he was laboring with that foot. So it feels kind of pointless to just kind of run them through the meat grinder if they're in the position that they're currently in.
Yeah, both Kyrie and Luka, they're clearly not 100%. Like Luka, I wasn't able to watch the entire game, but just from seeing how he's looked moving around since he got back, I still don't think, even if we do make a run of it and get back into the mix, I just don't see how there's any route to even they have to rely so much on 3-point shooting. I think you had a piece where the Mavericks the only way they've been getting by is by 3-point shooting. They were the best 3-point shooting team since the Kyrie trade, and they're below 500. And then tonight you see what happens when their 3-point shots don't go down, and they're still 30%. It's not crazy bad. It's just if they're 3 points, they're not shooting 45% from three, then they're losing to anyone. They're losing to anyone just from how ineffective the front court is. So,
since February 8th, they've been outscoring teams from the 3-point line by an average of 18 points per game, and they were 7-10 in those games that I counted. It's not that they were just shooting well; their opponents were shooting horribly. The advantage they had for 3-point line for the last couple of weeks, it was one of two things were going to happen. They were either going to stop making threes and they were going to start losing, or they were going to keep making them and maybe rebound 5% better, defend the paint 5% better, and start winning games. And it's pretty clear, I think, which way this is going, because you're right. If they don't make threes, they have nothing. They have nothing else. They don't have defense. They don't have rebounding. They have Luka scoring at the rim, and that's about it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm on Team Tank at this point. Maybe
is it tanking if you just suck?
Yeah. Honestly, they could play Kyrie and Luka. They might all right, just have them continue to struggle through it. But it's the effort level or the mobility that we have is just so poor that we might lose all the games anyway, even if they do play. So this, I guess you could call it organic tanking. But if you look at how the odds line up for the lottery, we're 11th is pretty obviously the worst place to be because we'd convey it to the Knicks for 11th. But if we pretty much, I don't think the Mavericks are ever going to do this or admit to doing this. But if we go 2-6 or 1-7 or even, I don't know, lose out, then the odds go from getting in the top 4 from 7% to 29%, even if we move up by even if we lose, if we're behind Utah and Chicago by one game, then the odds go up dramatically. And I know that that's kind of heresy to say that as a Mavs fan, but at one point Minnesota was the unluckiest team in the lotto, and they eventually made it. So maybe this is the year. Maybe this is my way of being optimistic.
There you go.
I can't really. That's kind of the only way that I can find a silver lining here.
We're at the point where I think you're not being a pessimist, but the most objective outlook for this team to get better going forward is to somehow secure a top 10 pick in one of the most loaded drafts in the last 10 years. So, if you can re-sign Kyrie and you get a top 10 pick and you get one of the Thompson twins or I don't know who they get, but like this draft is loaded. Like,
give me
pair
Coppell's
that
Anthony
with-
Black.
Sure, get him too. Like
I guess
him,
technically Duncanville, but whatever. I still claim him.
What if they get? What if they get to fourth and there's Brandon Miller? Like,
I think my hot take is that team's going second.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, and then if he's going second, then Scoot's there. Like, and if you don't want to get Scoot because you've got Luka and Kyrie, then you trade down, you pick up another. Like, I'm just saying, if you want this team, the fastest way for this team to turn it around in terms of roster building is absolutely them getting a top 10 pick this year.
Yeah,
that's the clearest path. I mean, and that's. I know people are going to say, "Oh, you suck."
No, man, there's a lot of that right now because it's dark. It's dark.
That's the best way.
As one Mark Cuban once said several years ago, perhaps losing is now the best option. I think that's what he got fined for.
That is exactly what he got fined for. Michael, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Keep in mind, guys, Josh and I don't get paid for these right now. We're still between networks, so we're true sickos staying along this line. That's how much we love y'all, or at least me. Josh is a hater. Just kidding, Josh. All right, Brandon, welcome. Give Mr. Pearson a second to unmute himself. He's probably fell asleep. What's up?
Do it every time, Kirk. I mess up every time. I'm well, man. I'm glad people are getting the chance to vent on here because, man, it was a tough loss, and I just brought up, I guess, the night before, which team has more upside. Dallas may have more upside, but Charlotte got the win tonight, so.
And they look like they were having fun too.
They look like athletes, NBA athletes. That's something that I don't know. Dallas haven't had a lot of. But man,
dude, that's the thing, isn't it? Dude, when's the last time Dallas felt like an athletic team? Ever?
Exactly, ever. When they ever had just like super. I mean, they've had athletes at the end of their career, but they haven't had any that's just like, God. I mean, they had P.J. Washington and Dennis Smith out there, and I mean, they're not the best, but they're athletes and they play like athletes. And we got older veterans, that move like Moses Malone at his older stage, which are serviceable but not athletes. So it's kind of it's polar opposites in rosters, and it's so top heavy, where you got Luka, Kyrie, and Christian scoring double figures, and the rest is just like a significant drop to the single digits. But man, I was just thinking like, and I brought up before. I'm a Mets fan. And somebody had brought up, Dallas has only fired one coach, and I kind of compare that to, I don't know, I compare that firing to kind of how when Willie Randolph took the Mets to the 06 NLCS. They had a lot of upside, and then, he got them there and kind of fell off. But it was the year that David Wright was kind of on a tear. And, I mean, if anybody who watches baseball that remembers David Wright, he wasn't Luka, but he was pretty much kind of being the face of baseball. And he was just they never really built around him. And to me, that's kind of how the Mavericks are. It could end up being wasted talent like that. Unfortunately, David Wright got hurt, and, the team went down. And I would hope that they would try to, kind of like you said before, Kirk, put something around Luka in the foreseeable future before, some type of worst case scenario or some type of fallout happens, because that's just the implication of what could happen to a franchise whenever things go south.
Well, and really one of the main problems in any endeavor, not just, but a lot of it is sports, is that teams rarely realize when things are going south until it's too late. And that's kind of the big concern I have, because we've been looking at this for a year. Like, that 7-game win streak was so fraudulent, and we all knew it, and we all decided to be like, okay, we're just going to have fun, because we don't really have any say. And the problem was the Mavs believed their own bullshit. And then January was really hard. They got worked. They were terrible. And then it's all, okay, well, we go get Kyrie. And you solve one problem, and you create two. And where the Mavericks are right now is in an odd position, because Josh wrote about how that having two superstars is a great way to build moving forward, but like you got to re-sign Kyrie for that to happen, and that's not a guarantee. Everything feels bad right now, and that's
everything feels bad, and everything's going to remain the same. To me, everything's going to remain the same even if you do sign Kyrie, because you could put a Band-Aid on the offense, but still the significant factors of having McKinley Wright, Davis Bertans, and McGee and everybody else on the bench without having another ball handler, nobody that could come in and get offensive rebounds and athleticism in general. So it's going to make it easier for people to watch, but I wouldn't expect a different outcome if they did get Kyrie, because they're going to roll out the same talent. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like street basketball. You can play pickup and get your friend that plays well, but if you got three guys that's not going to pull their weight, you're still going to get ran up.
Yeah, and like I don't mean to shit on everyone's hopes, but all these people, we have Luka, Kyrie, and Jaden Hardy, and I'm like, the average height of that lineup is 6'4". Like, what are we doing? Can't do maybe 6'5", but like that's not an NBA size lineup. What are you doing?
Man, Kirk, and what's so crazy is, God, the Mavs are averaging 7 offensive rebounds a game. Steven Adams is averaging 6. He's almost averaging more offensive rebounds than the Mavs, and they're last. They're last. They were last place last year, and they're last place this year. And I mean, that's something that you can't ignore, because they're just the cherry picking. The teams are cherry picking their shots, and they're just snatching up boards, just willy nilly doing what they want to do, and I don't know. But one more thing, Mark Cuban, the shirt and just kind of his antics. In my mind, I'm just like, hit dog's gonna holler, and even if he doesn't come out and say it, he has to know that, man, I'm sitting there running my mouth and I'm just looking, like.
Well, my favorite. We're so far into this. I'm going to read this joke. I'm going to read that. Come on, mouse. Oh, my mouse just died. There was a joke about Cuban and about the booing that sent me over the edge during the game. And we're so far into this now that I have to read this joke. This is from @your guy Charles. And he's quote tweeting my man Mike Bibbs Corner. He says, Del Curry says, we're in Texas, but that's not a moo sound you're hearing. Those are boos. Well, my man Charles, @your guy Charles, says, Cuban, are they booing? Skin, no, sir. They're saying moo because we're in Texas. And I died because it's just the perfect thing. Because it's like, I've honestly not heard boos in that arena. I can't remember when. But that's the kind of performance it was tonight,
Man, and to your point, it's kind of hard to remember when they haven't sold out games, and it's kind of hard to think about whenever you wouldn't associate booing with the Mavericks, you know what I mean? Because the fans are so low, but man, that's crazy. I mean, he went to being the I would say the villainous owner. He's replaced Jerry Jones on that level. I don't have anything against Jerry Jones, but just in public perception, I think that he's replaced Jerry Jones as being the villainous owner just because of his hubris and his antics. And kind of like you said, billionaires, they shouldn't have the gumption to want to say something like that.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out once again. You got anything else for us?
No, y'all take care. Thank you.
Be good. Got a couple more names I recognize and a couple that I don't. So I'm going to go with names I haven't seen as much in here. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kirk and Josh, how's it going?
It's great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thankfully, I was at a concert with my wife, so I did not have to witness this, but I did get texts from my brother throughout the first, second, third, and fourth quarter, and I just can't believe the utter shit show, excuse my language, that this has turned out to be. It's miserable to watch. It's just absolutely miserable, and everything you've said and everyone today has said is 100% accurate, and it's just so frustrating because there is no hope. I texted my buddy the other day, this is going to be the biggest offseason in Mavs history. He's like, didn't we say that the past X amount of seasons? I was like, you're absolutely right. it's frustrating, man. And there is no hope at the moment. I know we have Luka, but I just don't know if we trust the pieces that are the people that are driving the ship to guide us in the right direction.
Yeah, of course I'm muted when I'm talking. I certainly understand that. It is a difficult year to be a Mavs fan, which is ridiculous to say.
Absolutely. But I'll hop off now. But kudos to you guys. And really, I mean, I listened to all the pods after the games, win or lose. And you guys are at least a little bit of joy throughout the season. So let's see how it finishes up. But you guys keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it so much. All right. Let's go to Brandon. Brandon, what's up?
At least nobody died.
That's right. It's an important qualifier.
We're not the coach or the players.
What are we gonna do?
That's it. This is ridiculous.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
All right.
Talk soon. Bye.
There you go.
Oh, that's great. I love that. All right. Krishna and then my man CBA Mavs. What's up? Krishna first.
Kirk.
Sometimes Krishna falls asleep or does laundry in the middle of the show, so I don't blame.
Should I go get my laundry? That might be more useful. Might be a little more entertaining.
Fair enough. What you got? It's been a while since you've hung out with us.
I mean, honestly, I'll say this. After the back-to-back Kings games, I was like, I'm not going to pay close attention to this team. I already felt it at that moment that this was not going to end well, because my feeling this whole season was kind of that this team really needed to retool. Like, there were too many players who are good players, but in the roles that they're being asked to do, they are just not good enough to accomplish that. And I don't even want to talk about the trade because that's not the important thing. But the issue is when you're having injury problems with your superstars, and then you're bringing them back because you're in such a desperation, and then they're not able to perform. And then you have guys who are trying to step up but really aren't suited to those roles. Usually what you have is you have a coach who can compensate for that. But ultimately the reality is your coach is just not going to be able to do that in this situation. And then the other problems are you just have had all kinds of roster building issues for a lot of years that have really just built up to this point. And it's not like you fixed any of them, and it's not like you've made roster changes that have not even completely removed them, but or even just equalized them, like or done a roster building change that has equaled any of the negative things that have happened. And ultimately at the end of this season, it's going to be like, you can't point the blame at anyone because every single person has a piece of the blame in this. Like, players are responsible for a lot of the poor performances that have happened, the inconsistency in general. The coaches are responsible for not being able to put a set game plan. I mean, the timeouts are just ridiculous at this point. Like, how can you have the number one offense, yet one of the worst rated offense, like play calling out of a timeout? Like, that just doesn't seem to make sense. And then it's the same with upper management and ownership. There's just been a lack of understanding of what the reality of this team is versus their personal expectations and belief. Like, I think you guys were talking about it earlier. Jerry, like, for as frustrating as Jerry is, at some point, Jerry had Will McClay, and even the Dallas Stars realized this. Like, you just cannot go and sign big name players and big name stars or try to go get them. Like, that is just not the market you are in. Like, it is not feasible anymore. And you have to be able to utilize other ways and other methods. And, the mid 2000s, the Mavericks were good at utilizing trades. Like, they were okay with that, but the Mavericks have not been good at trades at all, and they still have this inability to understand that the draft is such a viable area of getting prospects. And it's this lack of utilization and this lack of understanding what the situation is that it's come to this point where we see a superstar who, that's what Luka is, for all the frustrations that he's had, and completely valid. I'm also equally as frustrated. You're in the situation where you're looking at a superstar, and instead of saying that, okay, we need one or two pieces, you're saying you need to overhaul an entire roster, which is detrimental to just every part of it as a whole. And it's kind of why, like, personally, I've just kind of taken a step back and not really cared for the team, just because it's not worth my time. And I get it. So many fans are passionate, and that's what part of being a fan is. But who knows? Like, I don't know what to do and say, because at this point, any energy I feel like I'm expending is just kind of a waste. But I really appreciate both of you. I know it's been really, really tough with all the podcast stuff and getting the feed, but I've been listening to you guys still, and it's been awesome. It's really been amazing. So hope you guys have a great night and take care.
Thanks, buddy. Talk soon. We got one person left to go. My man Scott. Welcome. What's up tonight?
Hey, Kirk. How are you and Josh?
Surviving. You?
Hanging in there.
Yeah. Good. Good to chat with the fellow Moneyball guys. I got a joke. Yeah, like I thought I had a while before my off-season article that I had to write. So I guess to you guys, the editors, I need to speed up that. There's only 16 days left until the end.
Man.
Number two, the tiebreaker situation. Like I wanted to say, like Michael said, we're half a game out from keeping our pick, but we're half a game out of being in a 3-way tie for keeping our pick. So we'd have to win 2 coin flips to get there. And the last time we were in a 3-way tie for a spot, we lost and lost. So I don't have much confidence in that. We'd have to actually, but the one good thing is that one of those teams that's worse than us, the Bulls, if they finish like ahead of us, but then they actually make the playoffs from the play-in, then the team that has the higher record would actually be the lottery team, and they'd be behind us and push us up one. So that's kind of like a little, maybe will come into play later on. But we need to be the 9th. We can't be the 10th. If we're the 10th, then basically it's not too – I mean, it's likely that we would keep the pick, but maybe one of the teams behind us would jump up in front of us. About a 23% chance, I think. And I don't really want that.
I don't want that kind of math. Math like that never works in Dallas' favor.
Yeah, we've never moved up in the entirety. In fact, the time when we won the coin flip with the Hawks to get the third, that ended up costing us a first-round pick, because then we had to trade them the first-round pick to get where they bumped up to the third. So it's basically always sucked. And then third, I feel like we've had more games this season where we've gone into the game and I felt like, oh yeah, we're going to win that.
Yeah.
And then we absolutely blow it.
100 minutes. That's how long this podcast is so far. It's really something.
But Bo went into John Wick thinking that we were going to win this game pretty easily.
I did. I didn't even think about it, to be honest, when I went into the movie. I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
We get to play them again.
At noon, too, and the Mavericks are notoriously great in the afternoon and on the road. So.
Yeah. Brian said scheduled win. It was, but.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah. Good to see you.
You too, man. Josh, do you have any closing parting thoughts for us?
I actually do. To send us all out on a cheerful note, I've been thinking for a while, watching Reggie Bullock kind of do the best that he can to replicate what he did last season, and he got burnt out. They played him so many minutes in the playoffs, and it's just so funny thinking about coming out of the playoffs. The reason the Mavericks won, part of the reason, there are multiple reasons why they're at the Western Conference Finals, but they leaned into a modern small ball lineup that wasn't small because they had 2 bigger wings and with Luka as a bigger guard, and then they had Reggie and they had Dorian, and they, wings win right now in the modern NBA, and Dorian and Reggie played the best basketball they played in their careers in those playoff series against the Jazz and against the Suns. And it's so funny coming out of that the Mavericks, they only had their taxpayer mid-level, and what they took away from that was we need a big, because Kevon Looney had some big games against us. When the reason you were in the Western Conference Finals at all was because the Mavericks' wing depth was the best it's ever been since Luka Doncic has been drafted. And I'm just thinking, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this article I wrote in the summer with all possibilities of guys that were in the price range of that taxpayer mid-level and who they didn't get. And I'm just – Dante DiVincenzo, they could have had him. He's with the Warriors. He's a good rotation player for them. Bruce Brown, solid wing glue guy for the Denver Nuggets. T.J. Warren, obviously hurt, but when he plays, he's been doing okay. And this is blowing my mind. Jalen Smith, big man that the Pacers re-signed. The Mavericks gave a bigger contract to JaVale McGee this summer than they gave to Jalen Smith, who I know the Pacers aren't doing very well, but Jalen Smith has played in 61 games and he's averaging 9 points and 6 rebounds. I know he's not a fantastic player and he's got a lot of young, he's got a lot of makes a lot of young mistakes, but I'm just like, it's just, oh my God, it's just funny to think how they use their money. And then, of course, they didn't sign Dragic. Daniel House, a useful wing for the Philadelphia 76ers, who's averaging about 13 minutes a game off their bench. How nice would that be to have another wing, to come off the bench instead of a Frank Ntilikina or what have you? And it's just like, that's the part that makes me sad. And I think you've talked about it, Kirk, is you made the point that the team didn't know what got them to the Western Conference Finals. They didn't know the formula because it's clear if you go out and your biggest signing of the summer is get JaVale McGee to be your starting center, like it's clear you didn't understand why you won in those playoffs.
You can win the math.
That makes it really difficult. Yeah. And now I'm like, so how do we trust them to know how to fix it if they didn't even know why they won? So that's
really happy. Shockingly happy ending.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. Now you can call me Nathan.
No, it's okay. I'm having a pissy time online because I engaged on Twitter and now I'm mad about things and I'm just gonna let it go. I mean I actually want to talk about this for a second. So I think Lucas quotes tonight, Belay, the most human he's ever been in the entire time he's been a Dallas Maverick. Just incredible level. Like we visualize him as like a superhuman because that's what he does for us. Yeah. He's an unbelievable athlete.
And also he never says anything in media sessions. Like
ever.
He gives one-word answers. Yeah.
He is so media trained. He's so boring. And so the fact that he said something, he's just like, look, this is like, things are not great right now on a variety of levels, makes me a lot more defensive for him than I was before the game, where I'm really, we talked about this. I heavily considered writing a post where it's like, bub, got to grow up. Just going through video clips and talking about it all because it's real bad. But now he says something where he says something where he's like, look, I need some understanding. He doesn't say that, but the implication is I need some understanding right now. Okay, I'll give it to him. He's earned that. He's more than earned that. And some person online is like making light of somebody's personal situation. Because I personally, I think it's incredible. Like, he showed up to work anyway. Okay? He's having problems, and he came and played anyway. And, that's relatable. Because all of us go to work. We try, all of us get up and go to work in spite of our challenges. That's the nature of life. You got to battle through shit. And the fact that he's made himself a human being instead of this, untouchable superstar makes me like him a little bit more. Didn't know that was possible.
Well said.
Anyway, everybody.
The rest of the roster sucks.
Yeah, heck with those guys. They're not allowed to have personal feelings and shit go on. Dwight Powell, how dare you go 7 for 7 from the floor? No, it's true. It's all of it. Like, we could all stand to realize these guys are human beings sometimes.
I know. And
it's okay for us to demand more from them. We spend a lot of time on this. And, there's a whole, everybody on the internet, and this is just an internet problem. It's a societal problem. Spends a lot of time judging intention. When it's like, what are you here for? Well, I'm here to enjoy basketball. And if I don't enjoy basketball, I want to talk about why I don't enjoy basketball. And if I'm going off the rails, I want somebody to tell me I'm going off the rails. Christ knows you and I have these conversations at least every other week about me going off the rails. That's part of sports fandom. It's complicated. Life's complicated. Okay. We'll be back on Sunday. Maybe we'll try some new stuff Sunday. We meant to do that tonight, but Josh went and saw John Wick instead. Maybe I'll go see John Wick. But
sorry.
No, I'm glad you did. I want to go see it. Are you kidding me? I was going to hop off and watch the rest of John Wick 3 tonight, so maybe I'll do that.
There you go.
Everybody be good. Thanks so much for hanging out. This has been Pod Mavericks Group Therapy. Follow and like us on your various platforms. We're going to be transferring to something new, but it shouldn't matter for you guys now because almost everybody's reported back that they're at least getting the show. The art and the name and that stuff will transfer. That will happen. Everybody be good, and we will talk with you guys soon. Go Mavs.